I have seen reviews comparing this to Lord of the Rings.
I mean, I could see parts of it.
I can definitely see the vibe.
Yeah.
You could be proud of your country, your culture, your history, your myth, but this movie is not something to be proud of.
Well, that's wrong.
Disagree.
Please, people, be objective while rating. 8.0 on IMDb is ridiculous.
That could apply to a lot of review sites, though.
That was a 1-star review on IMDb. Hello and welcome to Spoilers Intended, a podcast about series and films. I'm Steven, joined as always by Andrew.
Hello.
And Ryan.
Hello, hello.
And in this episode, we are doing a 2-part review tackling Baahubali the Beginning and Baahubali the Conclusion.
A twofer.
There's basically no way you can watch one of the films.
Can you imagine in 2015, the first film ends and you have to wait 2 years?
Yeah, I'd have been mad.
Oh, I'd be so mad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very much you have to watch both of the films.
These are two halves of the same whole.
Yeah.
All right, so let's kick this off. Gut reactions here.
Ryan?
I like these movies. I don't like it as good as like RRR, which is the director, his other work. The first thing we reviewed. I feel like, it's really good, not great. That's where I would put it.
I'm kind of in the same realm. It's pretty good. There's some very entertaining moments in it.
Yes.
However, it doesn't hold itself up well enough to be close to like Jawan or RRR, the other ones that we've reviewed that are Indian films. But I mean, like this, it's still good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm basically the same boat with y'all. This is a good film, or good pair of films.
Yeah.
It's very entertaining.
It's a good story. There we go.
There we go, yeah. This is the classic kind of Indian and Tollywood stuff going on in here where it is just, from one moment to the next, you don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different movies in one here, really. Like, there's probably four
There's
movies
about 4-ish movies
in here, but then within each of those, there's like little mini movies that happen.
In there, little vignettes.
It's dense. There's a lot going on.
There is a lot going on. And I agree. I think RRR and Jawan are still more.
To me, they're more solid.
Well, I think they're more concise.
Maybe
because like RRR has a very driven
It's really
story.
unfair to say they're more concise when we're comparing one film, two films. Like you took two films to tell your story. Oh, well, the single film is more concise.
Like this is basically like 4 movies into one.
This is 2 movies. It's just one movie with another movie in between it, and then the other half of the first movie.
Yeah, and it bridges both films. It's something.
It is cinema choices were made here.
But yeah, there's a lot of really entertaining scenes.
Yeah.
So let's, before we dig down into the actual review, a synopsis. This is just going to have to do for both of them. A child from the Mahishmati kingdom is raised by tribal people and one day learns about his royal heritage, his father's bravery in battle, and a mission to overthrow the incumbent ruler.
Yep.
That could, like, if you took out the name of the kingdom, that could be like any fantasy story written in the last 50 years.
A lot of them, yeah.
This story does pull from a lot of really popular like fantasy and like epic historical tropes.
Well, here's the thing, though. Is this based off of an actual Indian story, like folklore?
So it has.
Does it predate the stuff you're talking
that's
about?
The thing. It's like,
right. I didn't look up what SSR referenced as one of the inspirations for it. It is an Indian folklore myth.
Yeah.
But I don't know when if it's like, if it's like a Tolkien level myth, like it was written, 100 years ago, or if it's, thousands of years old. I didn't go too deep into it.
Yeah.
It starts with an M. I cannot. Don't ask me to pronounce. There's a whole bunch of names coming up I can't pronounce.
Okay, so you got enough names you can't pronounce.
I ran out of. Like, Apple kept trying to correct me on every single name.
Yeah, just out of the gate, be prepared. We're very sorry. We're 3 white dudes.
I thought you were about to say we're very white because we are
very white. Okay. So we're sorry in advance for any mispronunciations for Indian names.
It's going to happen, and it's going to continue. So let's just go ahead and rip the Band-Aid off. So this is directed by S.S. Rajamouli.
Yep.
Henceforth referred to as SSR because you got to save where you can.
Yeah.
So this movie stars, oh boy.
Here we go.
Prabhas.
Nice.
Rana Dagubati.
Nice.
Anushka Shetty.
Sounds good.
Tamana Bhatia.
Okay.
Sathya Raj.
Mm-hmm.
Ramya Krishnan.
Yep.
Nassar, and many more.
Yes.
Yeah, but
There's
those
a
are
lot.
like the main cast.
That is, and
Yeah.
it helps because that cast pretty much carries through both.
Sharon Deep is probably the other one because he's the grandfather.
The grandfather.
The father and grandfather, just depending on what story you're watching. The old dude with the hand.
No, that's Nassar.
Is it? No.
I thought.
No, I think that's...
Who plays Biala Deva?
No, okay, no, it's not. I had the wrong guy. Yeah. I'm sorry.
I was like, I thought I made sure I got the core.
Stay in your lane, Andrew.
You got it right. You got it right.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, you got it.
Stay in your lane, Andrew. Steven's got it, okay?
I'm just trying. I'm trying to help.
Music by M.M. Kiravani. So he's worked with SSR and a lot of stuff. Worked on RRR, Iga, which is another
Like big epic film.
I wouldn't go that far.
No?
No. Oh, it's the one about the guy who gets turned into a fly and has to seek his revenge.
Oh, heck yeah.
That's epic.
Dude,
That's
no,
epic on its own level.
Nick, it's a SSR film from 2012. Nick, our Patreon, one of our patrons, has pushed us to do it.
Oh, really?
It'll probably
Okay.
come just because it sounds.
It'll probably happen at
Again,
some
it just
point.
sounds buck wild.
Yeah.
So let's see. So the budget for the first film was 28 million USD,
Okay.
Okay.
and at the time, it was the most expensive Indian film made.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Box office of $75 million.
Okay. That's pretty good.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
And this is translated to US dollars?
Yeah,
Or-
this is
okay.
all USD.
Yeah, got it.
So the way the Indian rupee is done, it's like called like crore or whatever, where it's like a million rupees or something. But then it has.
Yeah.
So I just converted it all to
Yeah.
USD because I don't.
Please.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I don't think it says 6.5 billion crore. What?
Yeah.
You know,
Is that good? Is that bad? I don't know.
Baahubali 2 was made on a $40 million budget.
Okay, so the next most expensive.
Which was also at the time the most expensive Indian
Yeah.
film made, and brought in roughly 215 million box office.
Yeah,
People had caught word of mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and people saw the ending and they're like, well, we have to know now.
yeah.
So the Baahubali conclusion trailer was the second most watched trailer on YouTube in 2017, behind Avengers: Infinity War.
Wow.
Like people were hyped for this
We're
film.
ready for
and the
it.
thing is,
Yeah.
the number of people who watched it on YouTube is like a fraction of the population of India. It's insane.
Oh, sure.
To
Yeah.
think about the scale.
Yeah.
So let's open it up here, guys. So what's some just general spoiler-free thoughts?
So my general take here is the story itself is really, I found very interesting. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of like traditional storytelling tropes that we see that you've seen through a ton of other films like Mulan and just a lot.
Yeah.
And as you're going through, it does feel kind of like disjointing because there's two full movies or like it's like three movies basically.
Yeah.
In this.
Well,
yeah.
And as you're watching, you're like, what is going on? Like, where are we going with this? And then somehow it all comes together right at the end.
It does.
And it is a satisfying conclusion that I enjoyed. The biggest problem that I ran into was the CGI is I'm not even going to say hit or miss. It is very bad.
It's not great.
You can tell that the amount of money that SSR can command for production has gone up.
Way up.
Right.
Once like RRR even had like the green deer
And the horse.
and the stuffed horse. And a
There was
couple
a stuffed horse in this one, and the first big battle. Because we were
Maybe that's his Wilhelm scream.
He keeps putting it in every
It's
film.
the same horse. Yeah.
It's like so for my next film we're going to space and I'm bringing the horse.
It was when it's the main battle in the first movie, and there's a shot where it goes from him on a real horse to a side shot of a CG horse to a close up of a stuffed horse within like
just boom, boom,
a
boom.
second or two.
Yeah.
It's like cut, and I was like, that's three different types of horse, real CG and stuffed, all within
I love
the. Oh, you go ahead.
I was gonna say I love speaking about the CGI. I love how they kept having to put the tag in the film that like this animal CGI.
In the first movie, they quit it. In the
they
second
didn't do
one.
it in the
I
second
wondered
one.
because stuff I read claimed that was like part of like an Indian film rule.
I think that is because when there's animals involved that are possibly being harmed.
But see, I don't know if it like went away, because in the second film it never
happens.
happened.
Well, maybe they removed it after 2015.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Did the rule change or something? They're also, like, everybody knows this isn't real.
There's a scene in the first one, you keep seeing the CGI in the corner where there's a legit real horse falls down and he goes CGI, and I was like, no, it's not. I have seen your CGI, sir. I know what your CGI horses look like. That was a real horse, so you're not fooling me.
So I think my other biggest issue that I had with the film
on the day of shooting, so I was like, just tag that.
Yeah. The editor's like, I'm not telling anybody about this. I'm putting CGI.
Nobody has to know. Yeah.
So what else other than CGI?
So basically, like, I could actually forgive a lot of the poor CGI part. I mean, because that's kind of the thing, is like, that's kind of like why you're there too.
Yeah,
it's part of, there is some part of entertainment.
It's part of like the entertainment part of it. But the actual issue that I had that really pulled me out of the film a lot of times was the fight choreography was actually not that great. Like, the hand-to-hand combat wasn't that great.
Yeah,
like when you got into like the really big, just like absolute ridiculous
army formations,
Hollywood style stuff. Whatever. I don't care about any of that. Like, it's fun just because it's just absurd.
But it's not something that you're gonna be like, ugh, to.
Yeah,
like, we just have big formations.
But you could definitely
tell
that a lot of the actors weren't like action actors.
Yeah, you could especially tell with like some of the bigger one-on-one fights that there was a lot of cutaways.
Slow,
there was a lot of like zoom the camera out when I swing my sword in so that it looks like you're swinging faster, stuff like that.
Yeah. What about you guys?
Well, I gotta say, I agree with you on the whole, like, every Indian film we've reviewed so far on the cast, right? It's been midway through the film, like, where is this going? We have so much going, and by the end of it, you're just like, why? How is this all tied together?
It all like pops in, and the thing that I love about all the films that we've watched so far is they do a fantastic job at creating these horribly like terrible villains in a good way.
Yeah.
And the whole time you're just like, you just need to get yours, man.
Well, we need to get that guy.
And when they get their comeuppance, you're like,
oh, dude, and this one's got a great.
It does, yeah. It's set, like, they had it set up from like the beginning of the first film.
Oh yeah.
And then it comes back full circle and is very satisfying. Like, there's a lot to like about this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is entertaining. Like, both films, right? My wife and I watched one night and one the next night. And both times, before we turned it on, we were like, it's a long movie, but usually they have intermissions in it, so there's probably a logical spot. We just stop at halfway. No. And we just sat there and watched the whole film. Like, we just didn't. We're just like, oh, there's only like 30 minutes left. We'll just go ahead and finish it. See where we're going.
See where it goes.
Just go with us. Yeah.
Well, so my wife popped in and out, while I watched one night, one another night, and she would come down during the flashback, saw the same actor playing the father, and was so lost of like, wait.
Well, it's like, so it's funny. Did she watch Jawan?
Yeah. Okay. Well, no, she watched parts of Jawan.
Okay, because then you're like, well, this is just the same thing. Right. Same actor, two different dudes.
So Jawan threw me hard when it happened. Yeah. And when this happened, I was like, oh, yeah, of course they do. That's just a classic. They just do that.
That's what they do.
Well, at least in Jawan, he looked older, and this was just same guy.
Same dude.
Should I have a different haircut? Absolutely not.
Time of his life, baby.
Show up.
Yeah. Well, I do just like the theory. You're like, man, we need to cast someone to be your father. Well, you could be your daddy.
Convenient, because you're never in the same scene. He dies before you're born.
Yeah. Perfect. No big deal. No big deal.
So for me, the thing too that like I really like, and I think it's just the style of filmmaking over there, is just how like there are so many moments that are, I don't know how to put it. If this were to happen in an American movie, I would think this is the cheesiest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But for some reason, the way they execute it and the way it's happening is incredible. So there's like when he's, it's not really a big spoiler, but like when he's, meeting the girl the first time. And he's secretly
Avantika.
Yeah. And he's secretly painting little things on her hand
while she's like sleeping or
and the way it happens, because this is early. This is not a spoiler. This is a very mild one. She like basically goes to the edge of a river, has some dirt on her hand, and says, I'm going to lay it in the river,
and then
fish are going to come eat whatever this is off my hand, which is, number one, the wildest way to wash your hands. Just like wash them in the river.
Put your hands in and
so while she's just chilling while these fish eat the dirt off of her hand, he underwater snorkels across, 2 football fields of a lake with waterproof paint underwater, and he paints this design on her.
They called it tattoo in the translation.
It's very much like a henna style tattoo.
Yeah.
Tattoo,
but he's doing this in the rhythm with the fish so that he doesn't get discovered. Then he swims away. She comes out. She's like, "Wah!" And then like
she doesn't even know it. She
gets admonished by her chief.
Oh yeah. So there's just scenes like that I'm like, it feels like, okay, we're going to go with like a romance rom-com style thing of like, okay, how should we do this? I got it. She sticks her hand in a lake to let fish eat the stuff. And you're like, what? You know, like if you were to put some of this stuff on paper, it would be just ridiculous.
Oh, you like submit this as your screenplay, and the Hollywood producer is like, okay, first of all, I have to call 911. Like, I'm legally obligated to report you.
Yeah. But, like there's just a lot of that to me. Like when you look at the bones of the plot, like you're saying, there are some like typical, epic,
like storytelling
fairy tale
devices,
story, tropes. But then within the boundaries of each chapter, there's like 4 or 5 incredibly unique scenes that I've never seen in an American movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They find ways to do things. You're just like, oh.
Yeah.
I know you were allowed to do that.
It is generally like very creative storytelling in the confines of just like some absurd kind of like action scenes or whatever, where like you can definitely tell that whenever they have these big battles and our hero is like doing just these hilarious like Goku level feats.
Oh, just absolutely insane.
Just insanity. But like you can see the creativity there. You're like, ooh, oh, that was a good kill. I like that one.
It's very much so. And I think we said this maybe with RRR or whatever. Like when you were a kid and you're playing with your action figures, right? You know, like what would they do? Like what would your G.I. Joe have done?
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
There's like put that on screen.
That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
It has that like childhood imagination level,
a little bit of
like
like
stuff,
like a childhood wonder to it.
Yeah.
Of
And
just like, why are we so worried about physics?
right? And
What a small thing to be concerned about.
And I mean, to a degree, I guess like Fast X and some of the Fast and the Furious movies get a
I
little
think
wild
that's
with
why
it.
those films do so well internationally.
Yeah, it's because it's like, why are you caring about stuff? Just go buck wild.
Yeah, just have fun with
they
it.
push the NOS button and that magic happens.
Yeah.
For the whole time of both these sequences of films, watching this, I was just like, this is a superhero movie, and his power is he can turn physics on and off whenever he wants to.
Yes.
It's like I need to make this jump. Cool. I can just fall across this chasm. No big deal. I just turn it off. When I land, turn it back on. I'm solid again.
Yeah.
6 dudes jumping me. What if y'all weigh nothing? Doesn't matter how strong I am. Gone.
Awesome. Yeah.
गली गली तेरी लाहौर जली जियो रे बाहुबली
Climb a mountain of content, discover a world of exotic adventure, and finally stick it to your evil uncle at spoilersintendedpodcast.com.
So we have a Discord you can come and join us at. We have lots of fun channels and stuff that we just discuss. You know,
We talk about what we're cooking, what our pets are doing.
we have spoiler channels. If you have new movies like the Deadpool 3 movie that just came out, we can go discuss it there.
Just dating when we're recording this one, let me tell you. We also have socials. We got Facebook, we got Instagram. We're on there posting when reviews go out, what we've been watching, and just kind of some random movie stuff in general. Alrighty, we have rolled the rock away and have now traveled under the spoiler mountain into spoiler nirvana.
I want to know how long that cave is.
That cave must have dude, when they moved that rock, my wife was like, you can't just walk in there. You have to at least bring some snacks. Can you imagine how long that would take?
It's just like 10 foot in and then a ladder.
Just straight up.
Just straight to the top.
So let's kick this off. A little trivia. So the waterfall scene in the movie is shot at the Athirapalli waterfalls. They are real.
Yeah.
Along with 2 years of VFX added on top of it.
Yeah.
To create that much height because
All
of
the
the
set
complexity of
extensions,
the fluid dynamics. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So an entire language was created for the Kalakaua warriors.
Yeah, I was going to say, that didn't sound like anything
Nope.
that I'd ever heard before.
And they translate it in no version.
yeah, well,
Because
so
it's like you're not supposed to.
You're not supposed to.
While
You
it
know
was-
what they're saying.
Yeah, while it was playing like on the screen, I was like, wow, that's interesting. They didn't subtitle that. And I was like, oh, well, they got a translator. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's just kind of a classic. That's kind of like
I like when
Star Wars
people
doesn't translate Wookiee or whatever.
Yeah, I like when they do that.
So Rana Dagubati, so that's Bala. He gained 33 kilograms, which is 70 couple pounds for the movie.
In this movie,
dude is ripped. And we kept speculating like, are they CGIing their abs in there? Because like,
I feel that there was like one shot where I was like, I liked it. It looked like his abs kind of morphed a little.
Oh,
bit.
they kind of just rippled a little.
Side note, okay. I think maybe on one of those shots they did that because I think I caught that. But I watched another Indian movie recently called Pathan on Amazon Prime. It stars SRK.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize it's like the 12th in a series.
Oh, yeah.
Made that mistake
Just
going
in the middle.
and I was like, oh, I'm lost. But there's a scene, to speak about this, where SRK has his shirt off and it's like he's ripped, dude's yoked. And then the bad guy gets up out of this pool and he's also supposed to be yoked. And when you see him from the front, you're like, oh, wow, yeah. And what they've done is they have painted shadows under where his abs would be and highlights above where they would be.
It's
right?
like contouring.
Yeah. Then he turns sideways and points, and they didn't cut the camera. And so you see these shadows and highlights not turn. And then when he gets sideways, his belly is flat. You know what I mean? Like, but you can see, and I'm like, they just left that in the movie? Like, get that out of there.
You could just do like a tight shot and just get like pecs
crop
up.
in
like,
a little. Because he turns and like none of the shading or highlighting, changes. It just turns with him. And then he turns sideways, he's flat. And I was like, okay, guys. Anyways, unrelated. But I wouldn't be surprised if there's a few scenes where they airbrush
probably
a
little bit. Yeah.
So Prabhas, so that's our star, our Bahu.
Yeah.
He met with WWE superstars, including The Undertaker. I knew they'd get Ryan's attention to help with his daily regimen and workouts.
Okay.
Leading up to the film.
I mean, he got pretty swole.
He was eating 40 half-boiled egg whites blended with protein powder for his breakfast.
Oh God!
Heck
What
yeah.
a commitment!
Man. Oops, sorry.
Just ugh.
The just smell of that.
Why would you bring that up? Why would you bring that up?
Because how many egg whites?
40.
Yeah, I don't. Really.
That's just one breakfast. That's one breakfast.
And protein powder? Yikes.
It took 200 days to construct all the sets across 20 acres.
Dang.
Okay.
And they were done
Which is crazy because there's so much CGI in this.
There is. But I guess when you think of like inside the temples and inside the little villages,
you do have to have interior
pretty
sets,
much almost all the interior shots, but there's so many exteriors that are like obviously they're on a soundstage.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, and there's just no question. I mean, there's some compositing shots in some of this where it's just like, ooh, I haven't seen something that bad since like the 70s. Yikes.
Yeah. But then at the same time, like,
there are also some good pieces in there.
There's some pieces where I'm like, wow, that's a good key for hair. Man, I don't see any green spill.
You gotta have that reveal, right, with the slow head turn and the hair shimmers.
That's where all the budget went.
That is where all the budget went.
Speaking of building sets, I love when they get kicked out of the kingdom and they're in that little village and he just invents industry. They make this big machine. I'm like, what is he doing?
The guy is good at everything.
Yeah, this guy just rules.
That's
another scene that's like you just wouldn't see that somewhere else. It's like, watch this. I'm going to create a series of wheels that crush rocks good?
I may no longer be your king, but I am still a king of industry.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably one of my favorite things about just like these kind of films is that the good guy is 100% good guy.
Yeah.
Like he's basically just Superman. Where there's no mistake that can be made that he can do.
Well, I love it. So when they are in the I think it's called Kuntala, where he meets Devasami, and he is being a total putz.
Yeah. That was actually a great bit.
Just that whole everything about that was hilarious. Which you, Ryan, I'm going to call you out.
Okay.
When you watch these films, because you watched it before either of us got to it,
and
you were like, it's not really like RRR. There's not really a bromance. I'm like, it's right here.
Yeah, with
with him and the other dude,
Katapa and Bala.
Oh, Katapa
and Bahu. It's right there.
Yeah, but that's not a bromance. That's like
that's
uncle
and
a
mentor.
That's a mentor mentee.
Katapa is wingmanning his butt off to the point where marriage invite arrives and he just automatically misinterprets it to the good guy.
There's a lot of parts in this movie too where it's like this misinterpretation has created a lot of drama that would not exist.
This keeps escalating.
So my wife came down during one of those right after the courtship thing and the marriage proposal. She's like, "So what's happening?" I was like, "It was just a mistake, like a little clerical error, but like we're about to blow up about it. So just, don't worry,
we're about to die."
They didn't actually put the name on it. They just said son.
But yes, there is a little bit of a bromance. I saw it more of like a uncle to
but I mean, that could still be a bro.
But they're really, I mean, like they're just building up the relationship to where whenever he does have to kill Bahu, you're just like, oh, this just hurts, man.
I know.
Like especially whenever like they're like they're at the scene and they're fighting like up on that kind of like little hill.
And like he calls for the weapon.
He calls for the weapon, and then he's walking towards him crying. I'm like, no.
And the thing is, we saw them fighting this way earlier.
Dude, that was speaking of choreography, that was good.
That was good.
Like when he holds his hand back and the blade comes flying in and he grabs it and keeps it, I was like, ooh, that's good.
Well, also when he's daydreaming about the girl while they're fighting, and Katapa's just like, "What are you doing? Like I could have died."
The tree.
It's really interesting because you like those kind of bits were clearly where they had like some really solid ideas of where they wanted the story to go. And then you have just other like side like mini fights here and there where I'm just like, ooh, you guys really called in the B team for this.
Right. Yeah.
But anyways, where I was going with all that was when he the lord that he's being a putz with, Kumara.
Oh yeah.
And when they're in the harem and he's just like, "Look, bro, I believe in you, and that means you've got this. You have the strength." He gives him just the piddliest little dagger, and then jumps out the window and has to fight like 20 demons.
He cheeses it quick too. He's right out that window, and I'm like, "You want to stay to help me with the first wave? Like this guy's out."
But it was such a good callback though towards the end, whenever he is tricked into trying to assassinate
Bala.
And you have that moment where you hear his words again. You're like, "Ooh, yeah, this hits right here," because we know that he's been tricked.
He's gonna turn it on.
This. Yeah.
So up until that point, right, my wife and I were like, "So do we think this dude maybe becomes the rebellion leader that Avantika is part of? Like he becomes that chief where he's leading the rebellion?" And we were like, "Oh, that could be kind of cool." And I was like, "Oh, nope,
he's dead.
Nope, that's not happening." All right,
well, it was the Devasena's dad is the rebellion leader. Because it's the same dude from when they
but at that point, I wasn't positive who was who.
Right.
There was a little bit where we jumped to a flashback, and they were like, "Let us introduce you to your father." And I was like, "That's the same guy." I was like, "Okay, I track with that." And they started introducing other people. Like, "Oh boy, I don't know who these people are."
Is that the younger version of a person I've seen?
Yeah, I don't know where to place them. It was a little tough at times.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, like, for as face value, if you tried to explain these films to someone, right, it could sound incredibly goofy.
Oh, for sure.
But like the actual political intrigue that takes place in this
was
pretty good.
It was honestly very Game of Thrones-esque with the political machinations with his grandfather and, I guess his uncle, great uncle. Yeah.
Who are you talking about?
Guy with the arm.
Oh, yeah.
Him and then his brother or stepbrother, I guess.
And then like the weird ministers that they had.
Like you really had those kind of like Game of Thrones-esque kind of moments, especially when everything starts kind of clicking into place towards the end of the film.
Well, and even early when you see Sivagami and she's like saying something and somebody's like, whatever you did is it? And she's like, "No, it's statecraft," and she's like,
"Oh, when
I'm playing 4D chess over here."
She walks out there and like she's like, all the lords loyal to the throne step forward, and then like 3 dudes walk forward, and then like it all throws down with the betrayal, and those 3 dudes are like, "I made the best decision of my life."
So there was a lot more beheadings in this than I was expecting.
Quite a few.
They cut some heads off.
There was a lot of heads.
Yeah, that's why when you said it's like Mulan, huh? I was like, I don't think I've seen the right Mulan.
I mean, there's definitely.
Mulan, don't lie.
Yeah, you haven't seen Mulan, but
Okay, let's just stop the podcast real quick. I was trying to move past it, stay on point, but no, let's get into it. I haven't seen Mulan.
This guy is 40 years old.
41
years old, and he hasn't even seen Mulan.
That's I was in high
school when it came out.
I was in high school when it came out. I was too cool.
What a mistake.
So we have to talk about just some of the absolute absurd, like, not set pieces, but just kind of contraptions that are on the battlefield.
Like the spinning blades of death, and then at the end of the second one, the triple buzzsaw.
Dude, when Andrew hit the first chariot, he's like, "Man, this buzzsaw chariot's wild." And I was like, "Oh, just wait."
Yeah, wait, you're gonna get triple buzzsaw.
Yeah, wait till the triple comes out.
See, I liked the bit. I thought you were going to reference something else with like kind of set pieces. So when Bahu the Younger, and I keep messing up her name.
Is it Amarendra? Is that the younger Bahu?
Amarendra, I think, is the younger. Oh, I don't know. I'm just going to call him the younger and the elder. And Avantinka escape the guards by pulling like the Timothy Dalton sled move.
Oh gosh!
Right?
No, you mean Pierce Brosnan?
No, Dalton did it too.
He did it in
a cello case.
Yep.
Yeah. So when they did that, I was like cracking up because like, man, I've seen this, but at the same time, this is still hilarious.
Oh, it was. I was like, man, these guys got to be going like 95 miles an hour to outrun this avalanche.
It was kind of like the Temple of Doom.
The raft
comes out of the plane.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it had a lot.
He ripped the bark off that tree.
I know.
So I do have to say, good Lord, Bahu the Younger was like, this dude is just such a himbo. He's such a clown.
Yeah.
But he's also, apparently just good at everything.
Yeah.
The bit, when you were talking about the tattoo with the river, I like the second tattoo in the tree where she's like, tell you what, my friend, you go do what I did, and I'm going to stake out this tree and watch. And it's just like, Bahu's just sitting behind her in the tree.
He's honestly kind of like Wukong.
Yeah, a little bit,
kind of like the trickster
demigod kind of maneuver here.
But so my favorite, like, sorry, just
go ahead.
Because of the tattoos. Like whenever they're having their love
when the hands
music
line up,
video, the hands and the shoulders line up. I was like, ooh, yeah, I like that.
There's a reason behind it. Yeah,
I won't lie. When he was full himbo putts going on, and then he like
himbo putts. Put that on a T-shirt. TM.
Right? When they started himbo putts, kin enough. When they started like fighting. And in the fight, he's just removing her clothes.
Yeah, I was like, it's like Mask of Zorro?
Yeah, no, I was like, interesting. And then immediately after that, they get confronted by the guards. It's like, man, I really hope this dude's whole fighting style is just removing clothes. Please, let him just keep doing the same thing to these random dudes.
Well, because then that turns more into kind of like a drunken master.
Like a Jackie Chan,
yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. They're like, it's so hard to just sit here because you talk about a part of the movie and you're like, but also this other buck wild. He follows a spirit dancer up a mountain for days and then does the Mission Impossible reverse cliff jump with a bow and arrow he just made.
Yeah.
The sheer faith
I totally
in this
forgot
move.
about that.
Yeah.
Like he
There's
just
so many
like, what are you going to do with this bow? And hell yeah, brother.
We just maximum effort, full send this right out the gate. Like don't question it, just go.
I also love, because again, when you start talking about this movie, I keep thinking of all of the hundreds of other scenes. I love when Father Bahu
the Elder,
Baladeva go on like this bro journey to find out who's leaking the military secrets, and they go to like and I'm like, this feels like Raiders of the Lost Ark. Like he's playing like he's drunk. He's looking for secrets. He throws
all the coins and they open up,
and everybody's just like having a rave, and then it busts out into like the seducing and the ropes coming down. I was like, what is happening?
I was laughing so much when he threw those coins up. I was like, man, that would hurt so much.
Oh yeah,
just a raid of gold coins.
And they all go through perfectly. There's one coin per pot. It doesn't open up multiple holes in the same pot.
No.
And then at the end, they get that guy all the way to the cliff or whatever. He jumps off and he's gonna just let Ball
is
go.
like, what a perfect moment to just let him go.
Just let him go.
So I actually don't know if I said this. Did I say this earlier or not?
Say it now.
So when SSR pitched the film to Prabhas, he said, I am making Lion King, and you will get to play both Simba and Mufasa.
Oh, that's awesome.
What
that
a
is
pitch.
Awesome. That is a pitch.
That's actually pretty solid.
Yeah.
So the other thing, and I've seen this clip before I saw this movie.
As the shield throw?
Was the shield
Heck
throw.
yeah.
Where, and like that, like Steven talked about it earlier, pre-spoiler wall, of just kind of like, that's what you did with action figures. And you're like, whoa, what if we just put them in catapults and just threw them over the wall?
Yeah. Well, but they couldn't land. They just land on their shield, bro. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it's also that's set up by earlier when they're at the village and they have to use the tree to like pull the boat full of water. Then I thought, okay,
with like the canoe and they shower.
I was gonna,
It's so hard to get this water. What if I just fling this
water
at you?
everywhere?
Yeah.
I was like, well, that doesn't. They were pulling it up in containers, Bahu. I don't think they were just trying to whatever make it rain. But
like kids out there in the '60s in New York with the fire hydrant open. Or
but they set it up so that when he gets to it, he sees the palm tree. And he's like, aha! Even though that was his dad that did that.
But it's
don't think too
the
hard
same
on it.
person. I mean,
He heard the story.
Yeah.
I think he was there.
yeah. I mean, Katapa just told him how it happened, right?
Yeah.
So I will say that going from the first half of the film, right, with Himbo Bahu, into like full on noble Bahu. Mm-hmm. Going back to Himbo Bahu was a little harsh.
Well, because you only had like 20 minutes left in the film.
Right. It was really close to the end when we finally finished the flashback. Yeah. But two, is also like, man, like I spent a lot of time really enjoying this version of Bahu, and we go back and like, what is this dude doing?
Yeah.
Because he's a little bit of a doofus.
You know, in the background, deflecting arrows to kill wild boars at range.
Right.
Oh yeah, then we have to talk about the hallway scene where him and
Devasena.
Oh, the triple arrows?
They have
or the quad arrows?
Quadruple, the quintuple arrows.
It's four, isn't it?
They do a six
They
one.
do a six shot, which is not quintuple.
Right.
That's a sextuple.
Sextuple. There it is. Yeah.
They're each doing triple shots, and then they do the six shot together or whatever.
Yeah. Just absolutely incredible. Like it's one of those things where it's like if I saw this in an American movie, I'm like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
But I had no problems with it. Are we being too harsh on American movies?
No.
Should we all just let them do goofy stuff like this? Like,
I mean, well, that's the thing. It has to know what it is.
Yeah.
And that's maybe the problem is I think this, one, it knows what it is. And two, like it has so a lot of American films where it's like, oh, this is just kind of goofy. There's not necessarily a lot of emotional context to it. Like there's not like a moment that hits.
So and I think the best analog is going to be like a Fast and Furious movie. And the problem with the Fast and Furious movies is they take themselves way too seriously.
For sure.
So whenever
it,
Dom does some absurd Superman stunt that just doesn't exist in reality, it's still based in reality for the audience because we're just like, well, these are just dudes with cars.
So Dom keeps pressing the NOS button. He needs to push the turn physics off button. That's a much more powerful
So like
button.
whenever you watch that, you're kind of like, okay, well, this is it's just absurd, but not in a good way where from the start that, okay, like physics just don't really mean anything here.
right.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much as soon as you enter this film what you're getting into.
Yeah.
Just right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's also to a degree like logic doesn't apply in a lot of situations. Like there's so many overreactions and so many, like, again, if y'all would just say what's up, like this would be avoided. But then that leads to so many incredibly dramatic moments. Like, so when Devasena gets arrested.
Oh, yeah. I was not expecting her to get arrested.
Not to mention just the first thing is like, I need you to bring her here as your captive. And she's like, I'm not going back as your captive. And he's like, cool, you're my wife. I'll like knock anybody out. And they bring her back and the mom's like, why ain't she in chains? He's like, it's my wife. She's like, that's your, no, she's like, Devasena, come stand next to your husband.
And she
starts walking towards him. And there's like,
what are you doing?
What are you doing? And it's like the whole court's like, whoa, But then, when they arrest her, she cuts that dude's fingers off, which I'm like, yeah. And then she's in the middle of that court and you're like, what's
just dressing her down, man.
What's going to happen? And then, Baahubali comes in there and just cuts those chains.
Well, so I love the turn too with that scene where he's like, if someone touches you, you don't strike them on the hand. You cut off their head.
Yeah,
you're like,
but then when they go to make the move on her, he's like, if anyone touches her, it's the same as touching Baahubali's sword. And everybody's like, okay.
Yeah, you know what? We changed.
They drift back a little bit. Like,
I think we're good.
Yeah, like I don't think that worried.
Yeah. You've seen what this dude does with the sword? I have. I don't know.
So the thing that I've noticed with these Indian films that we've watched is every time that I think that we've reached I'll say peak hype moments,
right?
Of like, oh, there's no way it could escalate even more than this, and then it goes like one more level up, and you're like, okay, yeah, and then it goes up another, and we're like, okay,
yeah,
and it just keeps going.
Like, the dial goes to 10. And then 11, and you're like, okay, that's...
They're just writing in numbers.
And then it just goes high 1, high 2, high 3. Whoa!
I love the ending where like, you know, he's having his fight with his uncle and they've given him 2 really cool gray streaks.
Oh yeah, no, he was styling.
Yeah. His like chest armor is cool looking too.
Like, like the boar.
The boar. Yeah.
So like for as much as some of the pieces, like there were a lot of props where you looked at it, you're like, that doesn't look like it has any weight to it, right?
Yeah.
But like the actual outfits were pretty fire.
Yeah, they were for sure.
Absolutely.
I mean,
But you get to that end, and they kind of have like a similar situation to when Sivagami, you know, his mom was doing the walk with the fire thing on her.
yeah.
You can't miss a stride.
Yep.
You got to keep going. And he blocks the elephant, and she just doesn't stop at all. And you're like, oh my gosh. But he's doing it with Devasena, and she's got to like make 3 laps around, you know, and like they destroy the bridge. The granddad
set
or whatever.
fire
Like,
to it, yeah.
And then like the head
the
falls
head
through.
falls down.
That's what I'm talking about. Like dialing it up past 11. It's like okay, how can we make this more dramatic? She's gonna make 3 laps around. Okay, well that's not like in itself too dramatic. Hold on, we're going to burn the bridge, and then the only way she's gonna get across, she's gonna come across in slow motion as the music rises across his face of the golden idol. Da 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 da. You know,
So then it's like it's a stepping on his face while like,
and then it ends.
While she's carrying the fire for his funeral
Yeah,
pyre.
it ends with him on that pile of sticks that he made fun of in the first movie.
Yeah.
And then she just drops that fire and you're like, burn, baby, burn.
But
It's like,
it's definitely one of the, like, they do have such a good way of taking all of these really small little details and threads and just layering and layering and layering and layering and layering.
Yeah.
And then you have this big payoff where you're just like, I know it was ridiculous to get here, but this is awesome.
And it punches through all those levels. And I think maybe, and it may just be something where, and I don't know if it's like a case of it takes it too seriously or not seriously enough or whatever, Hollywood versus say like a Tollywood or a Bollywood. But like we've complained a lot, right, with American films. Well, they'll just be like, well, this happened. And you're like, but you didn't set that up at all. All of these Tollywood films and Bollywood are like, hey, if it's going to pay off later, you got to set it up. You got to set it up. You got to make this is how you make a film. This is how you tell a story. You set it up and you pay
there's
it
a
off.
lot of setup.
There's
and payoff.
not a ton of moments in this film where I was just like, well, that came out of nowhere outside of just like the physics that
Just
don't
the lack of
exist.
physics, yeah.
But like story beats always are set up way early on where you're just like, oh, that was from that one moment.
Yeah, I know why they're doing this or where this comes from or why this is.
Or why this character's doing the thing that he's doing.
Right.
Yeah.
All the motivations make sense.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
stuff works.
So I think a good point to that is Bala, whenever he's they're doing kind of like the little buddy cop thing where they're trying to find the traitor or the spy or whatever. And he's hanging off the cliff, and then Bala immediately is like, oh, I can just kill him here.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about it. But that's the first time you see that. But then every other time past that, you know that he had that inkling back then, but he's still playing it like he wants to, not kill his brother.
It just gives you an extra layer to it so that, when
so then whenever he's ready, like he is conniving the whole time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, and then Katapa has to do what he does. Like when they first reveal at the end of the first movie, it's like, man, like we've spent a lot of time with this character and we've been made to like him. Like how do you make this make sense? How do you redeem this?
Well, and how do we get to this point?
Right, and then you get to that point and you're like, it all makes sense, and like this is tragic and just oh my gosh. And then Bala sits down and brags about it, and Katapa has this moment of oh crap,
Yeah. Well, and then just that leads to the scene where, he was telling Sivagami before, like, she's like, I'll do it if you won't. He's like, no. You shouldn't get your hands dirty.
Oh, and then he
takes the blood on his hands and puts it on her hands, and you're like, that's so dramatic. And she's like freaking out, and then it goes, of course, Devasena walks in with her newborn child right when this is happening, and you're like, what are the odds? And then the people outside who have all somehow heard something bad has happened to Baahubali, they're all out there. So then Sivagami's like, give me your son. And she goes out there and she's like talking to the crowd. And you're like, is she gonna, king. What's she gonna do? And she holds him up and it's like, this is your king. And everybody inside like, oh.
well, and then it plays back to like her commitment on getting the child
the beginning
out of the empire.
She's like, Shiva, look, this kid's got to live.
Well, because, obviously, like up until that kind of moment, you're like, okay, well, like, she clearly has to turn the road somewhere.
Right. How did she get to where she was at the start of this?
Man, like again, like they just layer and layer and layer, and it's it's like
it's satisfying.
it is very
'cause
satisfying.
There are a lot of things about the film, whether it be CGI or like kind of goofy fights or just choices where you could really harp on it, but at the same time, emotionally and for like a storytelling perspective, everything about it is just it satisfies.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to complain about that.
Something else that's really good that we haven't even talked on yet is the music was fantastic.
Oh,
Pretty much the
yeah.
whole movie. It doesn't have the banger like Natu or even like the Jawan soundtrack where you have like kind of these earworms
That you wanna
but
listen to
All
later.
of the music,
But the music was
in
good.
the moment was like, ooh yeah.
Well, and I also
Yeah.
liked them because you kind of almost expect there to be. It's not Bollywood. You don't really necessarily expect to get a music video in the middle of your film. Like
got
you
like
with
2.
Jawan.
Yeah.
But like the first one you get is kind of the spirit calling to Bahu up the mountain. So it's actually a narrative piece, but they still get their song and dance number in it,
Yeah.
which I thought was really cool.
Yeah. Well, and even then, like the little mini music video that we get whenever they're kind of like falling in love for the first time, it's definitely like it's still kind of diegetic to where it's like it's in their own little world of like what they view is kind of
Well, a
happening.
pocket
And,
world.
and it
Yeah.
also doesn't just
Pocket universe.
Pocket universe.
It is a pocket universe, but it's also still happening in that moment.
It is,
because
yeah.
I feel like with Jawan, when you have a music video, man, like
That just exists
The
and is-
world, they just picked up 3 minutes and just dropped it in the middle.
Yeah.
I just pick a spot. Hey, it can fit anywhere in this little stretch. Just drop it.
Yeah,
in
but
there.
in Jawan, it turns night in that dance number. So it's like, technically, it's 24 hours goes by while they're doing
It's
it.
a really big dance party.
Yeah.
a lot of choreography involved. But yeah, so I mean, I feel like we've covered most. The problem is we could sit here.
There's so
we
many
can
small
talk- take
moments
out-
in this film.
Yeah.
So put you on the spot. What was your favorite moment? What was the moment, whether it be an action set piece or one of these setups and payoffs? What was the moment where you were like, yeah?
Okay, so I'll go with mine.
All right.
Yeah.
So we talked about the catapult shields, but we haven't talked about the catapult flags that they light on fire.
yeah.
Oh, the big banners, yeah.
That also change size depending on the camera
yeah.
angle. At one point, I was like, "That's like a bed sheet," and the next time I was like, "That's a 2 football fields long." And the next time I was like,
could think
"It's like
about
20 foot."
Was it Furiosa and the octopus dude?
Oh yeah.
That's all I
yeah.
could think about when it was flying through the air. I was like, man, that octopus man be jealous.
I love it's one of those things where I love the concept of like the way that they visualized it, but in my brain I'm like, there's literally no way that would ever work ever.
No.
Yeah.
But it's really cool because you have this whole setup of like you have the first little like cannon or catapult thing go and you're like, okay, whatever, and then they shoot it with
Checking the range or whatever, essentially.
Then they shoot the 2 that
Yeah.
have the actual flag on it or sheet
Banner.
and banner. Yeah,
Stitch
there we go.
tents. I do love when the uncle or whatever, crippled hand man,
Yeah.
is in the tent, and all of a sudden there's a shaft of light up, and I was like, man, what a weird edit! And it just comes up, this dude just cut the tent apart.
Yeah.
Taking all the tents down. Sorry, Bahu's orders.
Sorry, yeah.
But yeah, so then you have that and it lands on everyone. Everyone's like, okay, this is just really
The
inconvenient.
guy smells it like,
All
wait a
I
minute.
could think about was middle school PE.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, like the little parachute.
Parachute.
But my favorite part about this whole scene is you have the one dude that like cuts the hole in it, and he looks directly at Bahu, who is probably like 700 yards
Right.
away. He sees him clearly.
Makes
pick out
eye
the
contact.
sword or
Yeah.
pick out the arrow with the flame on it. He's like, oh no, this is a mistake.
Oh, this is terrible.
Yeah, that's great. I think I like when they are visiting Devasana's kingdom and they get invaded by an army or
Oh,
whatever.
yeah.
And just the beginning to the end of that whole sequence where he picks up that big cart and slings it over the other dude who doesn't realize he's been acting
Yeah.
like a putz this whole time. He's like, ugh, and he like looks as it flies. And then they set all the oxen's horns on fire or
Oh,
whatever.
yeah, that
Let
was
them loose.
absurd.
They create like a river
Yeah.
of fire to break their path.
And then he
Oxen are
rides
totally fine.
one of them up the
CGI,
hill and they
CGI,
hook it up to
CGI.
the dam and they
Yeah,
pull it down
pull it
and
down.
everything floods and he comes just riding up on this log at the end. He's like, oh yeah, I'm Baahubali. Anyways,
This is just for you, this was the greatest moment in your kingdom. For me, this is Tuesday.
but like that's his reveal that he's not a putz. It's like I
Yep.
shoot the 6 arrows with my girl in the hallway. I threw a thing. I set the oxen's horns on fire. I flooded the world and I rode up on this log. What about you, Steven? What's your favorite?
Oh man, this is hard. The whole time that y'all been talking, I've been thinking. I was just like, oh, that's so good. Oh, that's so good. Honestly, I really did like. I liked the whole Kuntala Kingdom arc.
Just kind of bit, yeah.
Just from because you get the bit with Katapa and Bahu kind of broing it out with the big fight there.
I love the first fight too, where they fight all the dudes in the woods, and then when they roll up at the end, they've killed like all these people, and she's like, "What are you hiding behind the women and children for?"
Well, you're healthy and big. Why were you hiding? They're out destroying the other flank or whatever.
Yeah.
But like all of that was great.
I love the boar hunt.
The boar hunt was cool.
Yeah, it was fun.
Well, also we established again that Deosena's phenomenal archer, and then they have like when she pulled out her bow and she had the arrows, and my wife was like, "Why'd she get the pink arrows?" And they show the other dude, he's got the blue, and I was like, "Okay, interesting." And they start tagging, "Oh, he killed it. It has the blue." It's like, okay, now this again, it's not just random. It makes sense as to why.
Yeah.
And you keep seeing she takes a shot, and then
she's like, and she knows that
it's a good shot. Yeah. And then it finally shows you the arrow fly. The arrow like flies off course to block her arrow to change course to be on line with the. I was like, how good is this dude at everything?
Yeah. Again, physics off.
Yeah. I think that is the correct way to view it. Is the dude just has an internal mechanism inside of him where he can just be like, that works, and it does.
Yeah.
You don't weigh anything.
He's a luck dragon.
He is.
Okay, for our next review, I think we have in 2017 there was a animated cartoon called Baahubali the Lost Legends. There's 71 episodes.
Oh wow, gosh!
Let's get to watching, boys.
Please, no.
I just saw that on the IMDb. I was like, what?
I wouldn't mind going for like Iga, the fly one.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Just something else.
we could try that.
Which I think supposedly there's another film, because originally I think it was announced there wouldn't be another Baahubali film.
Yeah.
And now I think there is like a prequel coming up or something. I'm not sure.
Well,
I just saw some articles.
I think this is a fantastic opportunity for our listeners to give us a suggestion for another Bollywood or Tollywood film that you want us to watch that you have seen or want to watch and want to listen to us
just
review.
From another non-Hollywood based studio.
Yeah.
If you got some crazy French film, Korean,
actually,
whatever.
it doesn't even have to be Indian. It could be any other film as long as it's not horror. Please no.
Please
All
no.
the horror suggestions are just going to come rolling in.
I rewatched Run Lola Run recently because it was going to leave Amazon.
I think the only French film I've seen is Amélie.
Amélie.
Run
Lola Run
It was
is
good. It was very French.
I think it's
is emphatically French.
Run Lola Run
French.
is German or Polish. I'm trying to remember.
I do want to watch Das Boot at some point.
Oh, wait, you haven't seen Das Boot? Oh, man.
That's the thing. I think we need to open up our horizons to some other foreign films. It doesn't have to be Indian. It can be whatever.
Only foreign movies moving forward. No.
Foreign spoilers intended. TM. Ha ha. Oh, yeah, you thought we could find some of... I got to say, on the one-star reviews, this one was kind of weak because I was like, I got 2 films to pull from. Like, I'm going to have so many choices. How am I going to... And every single thing was something niche. It was obvious that the reviewer was from India, and they're making I don't know what any of this means. I don't know if I repeat this, I don't know if I'm being horribly offensive or not.
Oh,
like,
right,
I just don't, I don't know what that means.
That's the worst is when you're like, I feel like this could be very culturally insensitive if I say this phrase.
I
don't
have no
know
context for what that means, so I just can't do it.
I can't do it.
So yeah, it was kind of disappointing because I was like, there's got to be something juicy. It's like, no, it's just a bunch of angry people who I feel the anger, but I don't know what it means.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think recommend rewatch.
I don't know if I'd rewatch it.
Ooh, it's a lot.
It's just a lot to rewatch is the problem.
I honestly,
yes, it is.
I would want to rewatch like the last half of the first and the first 3/4 of the second for the flashback as a movie.
Yeah.
Just for that whole piece. I think that whole piece was my favorite part of it.
Here's the trick. So for full disclosure, right, to part the curtain a little bit here, we were going to review this earlier. And
Back in January.
Yeah, I watched both movies in like December.
Yeah.
And then we didn't. And then we kept kicking the can down the road on the review. And I rewatched it for this. My intention going into it was like, I'm just going to pop in, hit some of my favorite scenes.
Yeah.
I started from the front and it just went all the way through.
Yeah.
I was like, because again, it's one of those movies where things just keep happening and you're like, what? And I was like, I forgot about this. And I was like,
And the thing is, like, the film, like, both films are pretty long.
They are,
But
yeah.
there's
Half
never
hours each.
there's never really a point, I feel like, where you're like, okay, get on with it.
Yeah.
Because there's so many pieces that keep
some of the
coming
fight scenes
down.
go a little bit long.
I could see that. I could
Yeah.
see trimming up. Like, I don't need to see you spear stab 4 dudes together twice. You
Yeah.
did it once. Cool,
Yeah.
rad, awesome. Now it's just like, is this just your Wednesday? Like, I don't understand.
definitely, yeah. There's a couple of there's a lot that could be trimmed, I think.
Yeah, just from the fight scenes alone, but that's not to say, I mean, and that's the thing is like, this definitely had like weak choreography in certain parts, and then other parts it was really well done.
Yeah.
You know, it's really a roller coaster of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously Ryan has rewatched
Yeah.
it, so
Yeah.
he would rewatch it.
I would only recommend this to someone like, I think I would recommend something like RRR first.
I think RRR is a good dipping your toes in.
If you've never seen an Indian movie,
it's a-
Bollywood or Tollywood, if you've never
It's a
seen
good intro to a lot of what you're going to see in other
in kind of experience.
films. Yeah, 'cause
Yeah.
I think for us, hitting RRR and Jawan kind of prepped us for a lot of
Yeah.
the tropes that just exist in Indian cinema.
Right.
And so, like, when they have the guy is cast as father and son, I didn't even flinch. You know, I just,
Yeah, I'm just like, oh, yeah, there it is. Yeah,
I
that
know
makes
this
sense.
one. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, this would be a lot to recommend to somebody fresh out the gate.
It's mostly just because it's it's almost
7 hours
like,
almost.
not 7 hours, like 6 hours. But
It's like each movie's over 3, right?
No, 2.5.
240 each or so.
Okay,
Yeah.
then yeah.
But yeah,
I mean, it is a lot. It is a big commitment. But I mean, like, could you imagine just like a whole bunch of dudes just knock back some beers and put this on? This
Oh, yeah.
There's so much entertainment in this.
yeah, just because I mean, like there are just absurd moments where you're laughing at it just because it's just
It's
ridiculous.
so over the top. They did
Yeah.
that. Like they sat down and said, "Today is the scene. If
We're
gonna
going to
shoot the
storyboard
scene
this out,
where we
yeah.
do this." Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I would definitely recommend it. I don't know that I'm going to rewatch it like tomorrow.
No,
but I
maybe in a couple years.
certainly would pull up some clips from
Oh,
it.
absolutely,
for sure,
yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we have talked quite a bit about Baahubali.
Now let's talk about our Patreon.
Hey, there we go. We've concluded Baahubali. Now it is Patreon time.
For only $1 a month, you get access to all of our bonus content, which our bonus episodes are crazy. We rank
They're
They're crazy.
We have moments where it's like you can do that and you can't.
Right. We gave Chat GPT love advice, romance advice. We have done tier rankings of chips, Halloween candy, sodas. We have fought
that's-
monarchs.
If we do another Chat GPT movie creation, we need to make sure that we get like a Tollywood
Oh,
style film in
absolute.
there.
That's a great
Oh, for
idea.
We could just riff on that for days.
yeah, for days. Easy.
Yeah.
But yeah, for just
Patreon.
$1, it's the easiest way to support us. We appreciate all of our
Easiest and the best, the most direct way.
Yes, we love our patrons. Thank you so much.
On that note, if you would follow us on socials, leave us a review wherever you're listening now, and share us with a friend. Until next time, I'm Steven,
I'm Andrew.
I'm Ryan.
and every spoiler was intended.